Here's a quick one for you. I'm just going to talk a little bit about creating and attaching a material to geometry. So let's start off by creating something that's going to get our material. It's going to be a 3D object cube. Cool, that works. And you'll notice that right now in its inspector window, we can see that it has a default material component. If I open up this component, I can actually just see all the different elements, but I can't change anything. Everything, all the properties are grayed out, and that is because this is the protected default material, comes in Unity, and it gets attached to whatever we add into the scene. So it kind of makes sense that we wouldn't be able to change it. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and create a new material to put over this one, so to replace the default material. So let's start by going into the project window where I have one JPEG called checkerboard. We'll use that in a little bit. We can ignore it for now. And I'm going to choose the create window here and then scroll down to material. Now, what is a material? A material is the combination not just of what an object looks like, but also how it reacts to light, sometimes does things with displacement where it can make things look lumpy or bumpy, all sorts of different cool things like that, maybe even glowing. There's lots of interesting things that a material does, more so than just, say, like a texture, which is more just about the colors of things. So let's name this material. I'm going to go ahead and call it, how about cube? That makes sense. And then I'm going to go into the first option right here. The first field is albedo, which is just a fancy word for color. It has to deal with how light reflects off of objects and surfaces. So we're going to click on this little white box here. You can also use the color picker, but I don't find it that helpful. And then I'm going to just sort through here and find a color that I like. Maybe use this lime green. That's cool. When I'm done, I'm ready to apply this color to the cube. One thing to point out really quickly is that this cube material is shown as a circle, but my cube obviously is a cube. The preview image here has nothing to do with the shape of the object you're attaching it to. I can come over here into my preview window in my inspector and actually just click on the shape here to toggle between different shapes. All this is showing me what it would look like on a three-dimensional object. There's a plane, there's a sphere, there's the cube, right? So it has nothing to do with that. So this can be applied to any shape. It has nothing to do with the circle. So now what I'm going to do is click on the cube in my project window and drag it into my scene or hierarchy window. In this case, I'm going to use the scene because I like to see the preview before I let it go. I'll let go of my mouse, and now that's been attached. Pretty cool. Now I can also mess with a couple other attributes. I'm not going to go through all of these. There's a lot, like I said, that we can do with materials. But right now I just want to touch on the metallic, which you can see I can move up to 1 or 0. And the smoothness, which again goes from 1 to 0. Now these two together kind of determine how plasticky or metallic your shape looks. For instance, if I were to go low on metallic and then let's say also sort of medium low on smoothness, I get a very plastic kind of clay looking cube. Whereas if I let me add a plane real quick, just so we can sort of see what's going on here. And then I go and click on my cube again, or actually click on my material again. And this time I'm going to up the metallic almost all the way and the smoothness almost all the way. And we can actually see that we're now getting some reflectiveness. You almost can see it even better in the preview down here, where I can actually see the sun reflected in my shape. So that's pretty cool. My light is a little blown out right now, and I think it would probably work better on a circle. Let me get or a sphere. Let me get a sphere out here. I'll attach this material, and yeah, check that out. It's much more obvious in the sphere. You can see the sun that's reflected in the material. Awesome. Now, there's another way, one more trick that I want to show you here before we exit basic materials for now, is that we can also make materials that are based on images instead of just plain colors. So let's try that again. I'm going to go ahead and create a material. I'll call this image. And this time in the albedo channel, instead of clicking on the color here, I'm going to click on this little circle next to albedo, and it'll bring up a picker with all of the different textures available to me. Now it's time to use that checkerboard JPEG. So if I click on that, you can see that I get a nice checkerboard material, right? It stretches it over the top. If I mess with the tiling here, right up here underneath the detail mask, I mess with tiling. Let's make it 10 and 10. You can see the effect is actually to show the image repeated more often. So this is 10 times more than it was when it was 1 and 1. I'm going to keep it at 1 and 1 for now. I think it looks a little nicer. And then I can actually just drag once again this image onto whatever I want. I can have it applied to the ground, to a single image, to a sphere, whatever. I'm sorry, to a single cube. And this is awesome for prototyping. It just really makes things a lot more clear and brings life to otherwise boring demos. So we're going to be using materials a lot, and I encourage you to bring them into your Unity experiments.